Hello and welcome to the Quincy Access Television Studios. I'm Mark Crosby. Thank you for joining us for Good Deeds, your Norfolk County Registry of Deeds. The Register of Deeds has joined us, as he has in programs past. That would be Bill O'Donnell. Bill, welcome back. Happy New Year, and congratulations on winning. What term number are we on right now?
It's been a few terms in, but yes, thanks. And we had a very nice swearing in at the State House and in front of the Chief Justice of the Land Court and Secretary Galvin. But Happy New Year to you and Jonathan, all the staff, great staff here at Quincy Access Television, including the students that helped put this on. And I hope everyone out there viewing has a happy and healthy New Year. And again, it's the new year, but my role today is at least talk a little bit about the Registry of Deeds, but the statistics from last year. And I guess the word that comes to mind in describing January 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2024 over 2023 is sort of maintained. The registry sort of maintained the document volume, and while some other areas in the country have seen declines in prices in real estate and in document volume, we actually saw an overall increase in volume. Total documents recorded in 2023 were 102,188, and in 2024 were 103,165, or a 1% increase. So, it was, again, building on 2023. Have we had more vibrant years document-wise? Yes, and it may never get back to 1 year. The Norfolk Registry of Deeds did 330,000 documents, but it still showed signs of vibrancy, and it increased. Now, what goes into these document volumes is the total deeds recorded, and in Norfolk County from 2023 to 2024, that was up 4%. The total deeds recorded were 15,253. In 2024, 15,795, or a 4% increase. And another part of document volume is mortgages. People need to borrow money. Mortgages get recorded by the lenders. You're borrowing money either to buy a new house, or maybe to take advantage of lower interest rates, or maybe you have bills, or maybe children are going off to college, or you're trying to renovate your house and you borrow money. Well, the mortgage interest rates, they may not have gone down as much as people had hoped, but the volume of mortgages this year was up 6% over 2023. There were 14,598 documents that were mortgages, 15,461 in 2024 for an increase of over 863. I always bring up foreclosures, and anyone struggling with foreclosures, or somebody that's having some problems paying their bills, they really should go to the nonprofit groups that we've partnered up with at the registry. If you go to our website, www.norfolkdeeds.org, the contact information for Quincy Community Action Programs, which is here in Quincy, but is committed to help people throughout the 28 communities in Norfolk County. We have NeighborWorks Housing Solutions, another nonprofit agency that helps people struggling with foreclosure. And we have links to the Massachusetts Attorney General's office, which also has resources. And the reason I mention it is foreclosure deeds, which is at the end of the process. It means someone's house got foreclosed on, sadly. And it may not seem like a lot. There was 87, but it was up 19%. So again, and the notices to foreclose, which are the first part of the foreclosure process, they were up, 339 documents to 380 documents. It might not seem much, but that's still a 12% increase from 2023 to 2024. So there are people struggling, and we should think about them, and also they should reach out and try to get the help that they need, really.
Absolutely. Let's talk about how the federal government, the cutting of interest rates, which actually hasn't been done as it was, I guess, forecasted to be done, how that impacts, it obviously impacts lending.
Yes, I mean, clearly a lot of decisions by the consumers get driven by the interest rates. Some people might be remaining in their homes because they don't want to, take on more debt, but they might not want that bigger house where they're paying a higher interest rate. And maybe the interest rates not that long ago were 2.5%, 3%. And
They're now above 7.
and so people, why should I buy a newer house or a bigger house and be paying 7% when I have a 3% mortgage? There's all kinds of factors that go into why people need to borrow money, but clearly most of it is driven by the interest rate, and we'll see what that brings. As I said, mortgages went up this year, but we'll see what 2025 brings. I would tell our consumers there have been changes in laws and decisions, whether they're at the State House here in Boston or nationally down in Washington, have an effect on the real estate market. But the Homestead Act has been changed, where now in Massachusetts there is $1 million worth of protection. So people who, again, if you have a homestead recorded, you get the benefit of that increase. You don't have to run out and put another homestead on. But to those consumers who may be wondering if they should have a homestead, clearly even your state legislators, and thank them for increasing the amount. It's $1 million worth of protection. And if you don't have a recorded homestead at the Registry of Deeds, you really should consider getting one. And again, you can go to our website at www.norfolkdeeds.org to get some information on the homestead. And if you want to download some of the homestead forms, they are available.
And just to be clear, what protection does that offer?
It gives protection. Again, it doesn't protect against everything. If you don't pay your taxes, your city or town can foreclose on you. Again, we just talked about foreclosures. If you're not paying the bank, even if you have a homestead, the laws are written that the bank's mortgage beats a homestead. But there are car accidents. There are other debts that you could incur, or things that may happen to you, where a homestead sort of puts a picket fence around your property. They're still going to chase you for those obligations, but they cannot force the sale of your house due to the Homestead Act. So I think that's a pretty big protection. Another protection for the consumers, and I know we talk about it, but you just saw it, Elvis Presley's property down Graceland. If they can, try to fraudulently convey Graceland, again, we haven't seen it as much in Norfolk County, but it's here. It's here in America, and it's in Massachusetts, where the FBI says the fastest growing white-collar crime is property fraud, and property and mortgage fraud, deed fraud. Now, we started before all this hit. Back in 2015, we started a consumer notification service. I've signed up myself, where you can go to our website, and if you have property in Norfolk County, I get a notice of any Bill O'Donnell that gets recorded at the registry. Now, it may be Bill O'Donnell here in Quincy, and I'm Bill O'Donnell in Norwood, or it could be William J. O'Donnell, and I'm William P. O'Donnell. But I get that notice, I check, and it has nothing to do with me, which is good. But there could be a time where, I say to my wife, did you sign that? Or did I sign that? We didn't sign that. And it's a deed to our house, or it's an equity line or mortgage that's been somehow fraudulently signed. We haven't prevented the fraud, but the Consumer Notification Service, by getting on that notice, on our website, we have links to law enforcement. You may have to get your own attorney. You can get on it right away and deal with it. So I think we all should, protect the biggest asset most of us have, which is our home. And the Consumer Notification Service is one way of doing it. Other things in 2024, I'm a big believer in history, and it's interesting. We are at book 42,189. Dates back to 1793, the books at the Registry of Deeds. And we're at that book at the end of 2024. And in those books, a rich history. We've had a History Comes Alive project, where we've transcribed over 450,000 documents. And we have 4 presidents born in Norfolk County. So much history. And in 2024, we were very proud to open up the Genealogy Resource Center, where people can come to the registry. There are databases available, whether it's Ancestry.com or American Ancestors, and people can come in and use those computer banks to do research. But with respect to our history here in Norfolk County, I can't thank Jonathan and yourself for putting in the time to put these little projects together. And again, credit to both of you. QATV did such a wonderful job in putting out these programs on history. And one of the history was the historic Norwood Town Hall, and it's one of the few public buildings that have carillon bells where you play by hand, and you did a piece on it a while ago, and it has over 13,000 YouTube views, being the #1 video on QATV, who does a wonderful job in the community, and Quincy's so lucky to have you people here, as is Norfolk County doing this show. Thank you.
Well, I know that you are a history buff and you deal with history certainly at the registry, so we are honored to be a partner in this, and certainly, as I had mentioned at the beginning of this program, or actually before the cameras were rolling, that I'm learning a lot about history in the process too, so I think we all benefit.
Oh, it's just great, and I know we have some projects, future projects coming out. The Thayer House, what great history! General Thayer was the, founder. They call him like the father of West Point, because a lot of the traditions at the West Point Academy, were installed by him. And in his will was the monies for Thayer Academy. So there's a lot of history. You did a project on the Franklin Library, one of our communities in Norfolk County. And do you know that's considered the first public library? They were building a town hall, even back then, soliciting funds. The towns needed money back then, and they solicited from Ben Franklin, we need some money to put a bell in our town hall. And he sent books and said, start a library, sense over sound. That's what he wrote to the people in Franklin, and they have that on the statute in front of the library, and that was a great piece.
And it's amazing to see those books.
Yes.
Which are visible at the library.
Right. And just here in Quincy alone, you have 2 presidents and 2 first ladies who were historical figures in their own right, Abigail Adams, and so much history in Norfolk.
And I remember speaking during the documentary, doing the interviews, and our interviewee had said, well, these are the remainder of the books. Just like nowadays, there are folks that would sign out a book and not return the book and say something like, potentially, my dog ate the book, or something to that extent. So they do still have quite a number of those original books, but they don't have them all.
No, because I don't know. I watched Seinfeld a lot. Remember, they had the library police came in with Seinfeld
right.
after 30 years. But
Yes.
Even back in the day, people did not return their library books. But luckily for history, the books now are set aside and preserved, or at least most of the books that Ben Franklin donated.
Yeah, they have a beautiful case that folks can view the books through. I do want, you mentioned partnerships, do want to go back a bit because the partnership that you have with local food pantries, let's go back to the end of 2024. You did both a food drive and Toys for Tots.
Sure. Again, thanks to the employees, the people that come by the registry. We do an annual food drive. And again, we try to be community-based in a lot of things. The registry's an arm of government many people don't know about, but it deals with the biggest asset you have at your home. But we also try to do things that improve and help the community. So our food drive, and again, I always say thanks. It was successful. But the food pantries here in Quincy, all across the 28 communities of Norfolk County, are in need all year. So if you go to our website, www.norfolkdeeds.org, we have a list of those food pantries. Some communities, such as Quincy, have more than one food pantry within the the town or city limits. They need help all year. So again, it was successful because of people that are willing to donate. But think about those food pantries all year long, and that will help everyone. And also, again, we thank the U.S. Marines for their service. We had a couple of Marines come by. The Toys for Tot programs, we've been doing that for nearly 2 decades, and it's just great. Logistically, it's a lot. We are a drop-off center, and the Marines still come by to pick up what they need to pick up, and that was a successful program. And again, it just shows people are out there thinking of others, and that's an important thing.
And the need certainly is there. I'm glad that you mentioned that these aren't, well, especially the food pantry. It's not just a holiday program. Coming to work today, there is a shortage of eggs because of a bird flu. So what's that doing? That's driving up the cost of eggs. And if folks are struggling already, they're going to be struggling even more. So the need is there.
Yes, and if you go by your local food pantry, they will tell you that. So it's just something we try to put out there that I guess it's great to think during the holidays. Yeah, people need help, but people need help all year. So especially the food pantry. So please consider them.
I do want to go back to the Homestead Act and just speak about the fact that due to the work of the legislators in Massachusetts, it is automatic, but what's not automatic is the increase, correct?
Well, you automatically get that increase if you have a filed homestead. What you're talking about is, for the first time, Massachusetts, you could only get a homestead if you filed the document, and they did an automatic homestead. But that's for a nominal amount. In order to get the advantage of this big number, the $1 million, you have to record a written homestead form. And it just gives a reference to the title to your home. And if I own a property with my wife and I have to sign it. We have to do it in front of a notary. So if you have a homestead filed at the registry now, you get the benefit. So in a way, it's automatic. You get the benefit as long as you have a written homestead that's valid at the registry. But if you want to take advantage of having a registry, having that protection that just went up to $1 million, you should record a homestead. And it gives you other protections. People don't realize if you go to sell your property, if you have a written homestead recorded, it protects the proceeds of that sale, again, for a limited period of time of 1 year. Or if you have a written homestead recorded at the Registry of Deeds, if something happened to your house, it burnt down, and you got a check from the insurance company to rebuild the house, creditors can't swoop in and go after that money if you have a homestead recorded, again, for a limited period of time, 2 years. But there are all kinds of little protections like that are in there for a reason, and they help the consumer.
And not that many folks are refinancing at this point, but if folks refinance, what does that do to the Homestead Act?
Now, again, thank you, local legislators, there was a change. The registers of deeds, I'm one of 21 registers across Massachusetts. We worked with the legislators to try to correct what we saw as a failure to the consumer. And there was language in these mortgages for years that terminated your homestead. So when I had 3 children and they're going through college, when I would be refinancing, I would throw another homestead on. But a lot of other people didn't realize that, and their homestead was in essence terminated. Now, some lawyers would I'm a lawyer, 10 different lawyers, 10 different opinions. Oh, that only dealt with the bank and your homestead was still good. I didn't want a chance having some creditor, and thank God I don't have any of those situations, a bad car accident or creditors. I didn't want someone saying your homestead was terminated when you refinanced when your kid was going into college. The legislature changed all that. Now it's, if that language is in a mortgage, your homestead isn't terminated. And that was March 16th, 2011. That went into effect March 16th, 2011. So if you put a homestead on after March 16th, 2011 and refinanced, and you had that bad language that sometimes is in the 30 pages of mortgage, no one reads it, it doesn't terminate your homestead, and you can thank your local legislators for getting that through, because I think that's really important. Consumers consumers didn't realize their mortgages were being either jeopardized or curtailed, or quite frankly, in my opinion, just flat out done and terminated because of that language. And thank you, local legislators, for getting that pro-consumer law through the legislature.
I do want to go back, I guess, more toward the beginning of the program and talk about housing stock throughout the county, because that is a determining factor for sales.
Well, and I know we had some conversation. You were saying, that people putting out that prices are going down, and I kind of said, well, not in Norfolk County,
Right,
and
but
I know
across the country.
Even just again, we kind of combine commercial with residential, and sometimes that skews things. But prices, average sale price, is over $1 million in Norfolk County. Again, because of that commercial versus residential, up 6%, from 2023 to 2024. So, first of all, that's a credit to, the communities. People want to live in Norfolk County. It's close to Boston, towns and cities, typically well managed and run. So, and the fact is that there's not enough housing to keep up with the demand, and that, you still talk to brokers, and there's still competition for sales. We will see the spring market will be coming. It doesn't feel like spring in the cold air that we're dealing with today here in January, but spring will be coming, and we'll see what the spring market brings. But when they talk about housing prices going down in other parts of the country, overall, I don't see that in Norfolk County.
I do want to talk about countrywide. We have a new administration. President Trump is back in office. How does that affect what the feds do to rates?
Well, typically the Fed has always sort of been non-political. Yes, there's political appointments, and certainly, I guess it's not meant to be a cynic. There's politics in everything. But clearly, what the Fed does affects interest rates, affects the economy. Even within the Fed, they have governors, and different governors have different philosophies, appointed by different, people of different political persuasions. So it does affect things. I hope the Fed kind of typically is thought to be a little independent. I hope it remains that way, and just make the economic calls that need to be made to keep, to hopefully improve the economy, and just to keep things going the way they have.
Now, throughout the county, do you see, I know Quincy, for example, there seems to be a lot of residential building going on as opposed to commercial. What about other communities throughout Norfolk County? What do you notice?
Other communities, I know in my community there was a building, and building near train tracks before all these laws were going into effect. Just Norwood had things zoned that way, before. Because they had some train stations, and there was building and apartments and things like that put in.
And they're looking at affordable housing next to commuter.
No, it was doing that before this new law. Although that, I guess there's some question whether they get credit for that because they did it before. But that's a whole other story for another day. But other communities, I think, are addressing it. But I think even when you have buildings that's taking place, it's not keeping up with the demand for housing. There's still, a demand. So notwithstanding that in some communities there has been construction, and you mentioned Quincy, at some levels it's not keeping up overall with the housing demands or the housing needs in the region.
Well, not only, I'm skipping counties now, I'm skipping over to Plymouth, and simply the growth of residential housing in Plymouth is also, I don't want to say, it seems to be growing or going in leaps and bounds.
Right.
Even there. So that's another county. It's not Norfolk.
It is, yeah. And John Buckley does a great job down at Plymouth Registry. America's First Registry is the title when you walk into his building because of, the Pilgrims and the
Right.
history there. And there's plenty of history there. But yes, again, it will remain to be seen in these areas. Is the construction going to keep up with the demand?
One of the good things I heard is that actually the construction costs are down, so supplies like lumber and so on are actually at a better rate now than they were in the past.
Why do I think just because the supplies go down that the prices of the house may not? So we'll see on that one.
Right.
Because maybe it's just more profit for the people building the house. Who knows? But good
Absolutely.
for them.
Well, they need the profit to buy those eggs that we talked about just moments ago. The egg prices going up. Let's also just briefly talk about mortgage discharges and the importance of a mortgage discharge.
Well, we mentioned earlier mortgages when we all have to borrow money to buy the house, to renovate the house, to put children through college, and you record a mortgage. A mortgage is usually that 30-page document you're signing. It gets recorded at the registry, and it's there to protect the lender's interests. They want to make sure you pay that money back. When you finally do pay that money back, the banks, the lenders are required, again, thank you local legislators, because it wasn't like that when I first became register. Laws have been put into place, putting some teeth into the fact that a 1 or 2 page document, that's what a discharge is. Mortgage discharges need to be recorded at the registry, and it tells the world that that mortgage has been paid off. And if you have any questions about, wait a minute, I paid that mortgage off 10 years ago. Did my discharge get recorded? You could either contact your local bank or just go on our website, www.norfolkdeeds.org, and you can look up your mortgage and look up to see if it's discharged. If that becomes a little overwhelming, call our customer service center. It's 781-461-6101, and you can call up and get some service and maybe say, hey, did my discharge get paid off? Because everyone knows the mortgage got paid off. It's just, did the discharge telling the world that it got paid off? Is it at the registry? And that goes for your equity line. Some people say, oh, well, I'm using this bank for my equity line.
But banks come and go.
Banks come and go, and that's another issue. Banks do come and go, and we have a document on our website, where has my bank gone? So if you borrowed money from, say, Union Warren Bank, and you want to find out who's Union Warren Bank, you can go to that website. We have state and federal contact information to get that. But the point I was making also was the equity lines are mortgages. So your equity lines, if you've closed them off and you have no relationship with that equity line, make sure it gets discharged. I mean, some people have equity lines and they may need them, so you don't close that off. But there are people that are using one bank equity line and they're like, oh yeah, I don't even use that other bank equity line. I close that. Well, did the discharge get to the registry that closes it? So these are the things that really banks should be taking care of, the lawyers that are doing the closings that should be taken care of. But sometimes things fall through the cracks, and as the consumer, it's my property. So when I refinance or when I go to sell the house, it's going to be my problem when the lawyer that's doing the closing says, hey, I need a discharge from that mortgage 20 years ago because that mortgage is still showing as not being paid. So it's better to check on it right now. And as you mentioned, some banks went out of business. People forget that. Other banks have merged, and sometimes it's not as easy going down to that local community bank to get the discharge. Sometimes you have to do a little work to get that discharge.
Well, Bill, we've come to the end of the half hour. Again, a program that's full of information. I want to thank you for stopping by.
Well, thanks for doing this, and thank you for watching. And again, Healthy New Year to all.
Yes, Healthy New Year to all. And just remember to support your local community access station in the community in which you reside. Take care.